Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Contained herein are the heresies of Radolf Buntwine, erstwhile monk turned traveling medical investigator. Join me as I study the secrets of the divine plagues and uncover the blasphemous truth that ours is not a loving God, and we are not its favored children. The heresies of Radolf Buntwine, wherever podcasts are available.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Don't Blame Me, starring me, Megan, and my co-host, producer, and the glue to my glitter, but you're also glitter glue. So, you're multifaceted. I am solely just the kind of glitter that gets stuck in your lungs and never leaves. Melissa, hello. Hi. How are you?
I'm splendid. How are you?
You're splendid.
I mean, I've only been awake for an hour and 20 minutes, so there hasn't been anything to ruin my day yet.
Well, that's fair. I mean, hey, not a bad time to wake up.
Yeah.
Let me give a quick intro to our podcast. Anyone who's new here, we're an advice show where we give, you guessed it, advice.
Wow.
Life-changing. It's wonderful, fantastic, amazing, never been done before. You call in, you leave us voicemails, and then we give you wonderful advice. And what we lack for in credentials, we make up for in...
Opinions.
Opinions. Unlike assholes, we have many of them. I was trying to think. I was like, I wonder if anyone has multiple assholes.
I mean, it's not considered an ass because it's not in your ass, but if you have to get like one of those little bags, they make a little hole in your side,
yeah.
you know? But it's not in your ass, but it still does the same thing that an asshole would do.
I also wonder if you have hemorrhoids for too long, if it like rips an additional hole. Because you do, because you have to get sewn up.
It just rips the asshole that you currently have. Kind of like if you like have a baby and you rip.
Yes. So as opposed to the phrase like tear me a new asshole, it's tear my current asshole to shreds. Expand my current asshole.
Mm-hmm.
I do know a friend of a friend who had to get their asshole sewn up. Oof, painful. Actually, probably I know more people.
I know a doctor who specializes in asshole repair because he works in a gay community where fisting is a big thing. And so that's his...
This is the same circumstance of the person that I know who had to get their... Because I was thinking, I was like, oh, but then people who, give birth, I was like, that is definitely one. But I was like, no, I was thinking of too many poppers, too big of a fist. Yeah, overexerted.
I've sat through a whole thing of, no pun intended, about how to properly fist.
That makes my butthole hurt just thinking about it.
It was for a podcast. I will never use it, but if the time comes, I know how to.
You're prepared. Maybe we'll get a phone call about it, and then you can be like, excuse me, this is my time to shine. Well, if any of you want to call in for an upcoming episode and get some wonderful, fantastic advice from us, leave us a voicemail at 310-694-0976. And international listeners, send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. Make sure you are 18 or over, have your parents' permission. Give us as many details as possible, but you got to keep it under 3 minutes. So we recommend that you write everything down. Pull out the timer on your phone or any other timing apparatus and read what you wrote, make sure all the details are in there, and you get it in under 3 minutes. And if you do a fantastic job of that, while also including your pronouns, ages, and all of the relevant details that help us give the best advice possible, you might receive a diamond from the diamond herself.
Pretend that I'm on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills.
It's immediately when my mind went to when you stuck your hand up. I was like, I've seen those.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, we are looking forward to hearing from all of you. And please call in. We've had a lot of similar kind of repeat calls recently. And we don't love to regurgitate information or regurgitate advice that's
been done before. Yeah.
Yeah, quite similar. So if you are seeking advice and maybe we haven't used your call, go check through the back catalog of the episode, see if there's something very similar. And then, if you've got some weird things going on in your life or something that you're like, is this too wild to call in about? Try us. We want to see. Throw us some curveballs.
Right. I'm a switch hitter.
I'm not.
But I was just saying because, curveballs.
You're far more athletic than me.
I can't switch hit. We're yes-anding here.
Yes, and. Oh, I'm so sorry. I don't know why I'm questioning this. I did a lot of improv. I've done theater. Yes, and. Yes, and. Well, what's new with you? How are you?
Nothing's really new with me. Last week was just kind of up in the air because I was on hold for jury duty. So it was like every day I was like, okay, I can confirm this meeting at 7 p.m. I made it through the week without getting called in. So it was a weird week.
So are you done? So like, that's it?
Yep.
I know it's like not how the law works. But again, I repeat, I would wish we could do jury duty together.
I mean, I told you to try to schedule it the week that we had it at the same time. And then we just pretend like we don't know each other until the thing is we pretend until someone asks. So as long as if they don't ask, then we don't have to say
Oh,
it. That's
true. But isn't that one of the things they ask when you're on a jury? Like, do you know anybody else?
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm just trying to think of ways.
She looks familiar. But
there's not videos of us on the internet.
You could do that TikTok noise that is like, she looks like every other bitch. And I'm like, I do. I have a common face. I was going to give a COVID update for people. I am officially a month past my positive test. For the millionth time, please get vaccinated. Mott's is feeling like pretty much totally back, except his sense of smell and taste are definitely better than mine, but like he's not 100%. My smell and taste are rocking at a solid 30%. I can like taste some things enough that like I don't really recognize that I'm not tasting it. Like, and then I made myself a cup of tea and I was like, oh, I forgot to put the tea back in this. And then I look and I'm like, maybe I got a wrong flavor. And then I was like, oh no, this is just one of those very faint flavors that is totally gone. Still exhausted, still a ton of fatigue, still a horrible amount of brain fog, which you can testify to, but anybody who works with me can testify in the, oh, did I do this? Did I not do this? Oh, I didn't. Like, I just am forgetting everything. But my cough is now steadily back. Not as bad as it was, but it's back enough that it sucks. And I just want to remind everybody to please get vaccinated because I think I was, not to like play that game, but like he is a straight man. So I definitely think I was sicker than him, but we were both complaining the same level. But now that he's like better, both of us vaccinated, same vaccine, same day. And I don't have any pre-existing health conditions that put me at, I'm not in any of the criteria or categories that like put me at getting like a vaccine earlier or high risk or anything like that. I'm just someone who doesn't have the greatest immune system and like deals with like, most likely endometriosis, which is chronic, all of those other things. So just knowing that it could have been worse. I just want to encourage everybody again to please get vaccinated because the risks of not getting vaccinated are so much higher when you have COVID. And even if you've already had it before, the amount of antibodies, like just get vaccinated at this point. I hope we don't have any listeners who are still like staunchly against it. But if there's anyone who's hesitant, just want to encourage you all to get vaccinated. And if you have COVID in a breakthrough case, it does get better. Like I'm feeling like a little bit better every day.
You look like yourself again.
Well, I'm not like gray. Like I like think back to like how I looked. Like I had no color in my face and I still get like winded and tired and all of that stuff. But before when I talked, I feel like I could see what little color I had from my face drain. And I always had a fine blood oxygen level. Do you know what I mean? Like all of those things like were numerically fine, but it just takes a lot out of you.
Yeah.
So that is my soapbox. I will say I'm hopping off it, but I'm not really. I will continue to tell people to get vaccinated. Well, anything else we should?
Buy our merch. If you get it, please send us a picture. We're going to put together a poster of everyone in their shirts.
I need a post on our podcast Instagram.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. You want to get in the calls?
Let's do it.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I'm a 25-year-old female, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm calling for advice for my relationship and family. It's two parts but connected, so bear with me. I'm dating a 32-year-old who uses he, him pronouns. We've been together for about 2 years and living together for a year. I love him very much, and he is super supportive and does a lot of wonderful gestures, like bringing home a foot bath out of the blue or making little care packages. For a little background, I am in therapy and have been for a few years. I also work for a mental health agency, and I'm a year into my MSW program. I understand mental health pretty well, and I'm great at giving advice, but not good when it comes to my own mental health. I have PTSD and told my partner this summer, and he was supportive when he found out. My issue is I struggle with sharing specifics that would be helpful and being more honest and getting both of our needs met. I would like to be able to share more with my partner. For example, I have an anniversary of a death coming up that I've wanted to discuss for months but haven't known how to share. This is something I struggle with in general, but is also compounded by the fact my partner had a traumatic loss of his sister earlier this year. I've been stuck in this spot of just wanting to support him through that and haven't necessarily focused on my own needs for months. I don't want to discuss death with his loss, but also know it's not helpful to just experience it and not let him know. The other piece is I have an extremely strained relationship with my own sister. I cut her off earlier this year prior to my partner's loss. He was supportive of it at the time, as I think he related. I'm visiting my family with him for the holidays, and my mom asked about having my sister come. We're both vaccinated and masked and only plan to travel if it is safe enough. I struggle discussing that relationship with him now and don't know if I should just reopen my relationship with my sister because of the loss. For background, my sister is 2 years older and struggled with extreme mental illness and physical issues starting from my middle school age all the way through college for me. She had frequent inpatient hospitalization, and I never invited people over when I was younger because I didn't know how she would react if she would get verbally and physically violent. Even though she was older, I took on more of a parental or older sister role as my mom was fully focused on supporting her needs. She frequently told me she wished I hadn't been born, and my entire childhood revolved around her needs. Into adulthood, she has wanted a relationship, but it's always remained about her and her issues or needs. She has a distorted view of the world to the point where she makes comments as though we experience things at the same age. My therapist supported cutting her off, but my partner's loss has made it hard to maintain and discuss. I struggle with navigating this time with both my family and my partner. I know my partner would be supportive and I tend to overthink, but I have no idea how to navigate all of this and was hoping for some advice. I am also sensitive, so if I need tough love, kindly worded would be very much appreciated.
I think it's great that you're in therapy. This is hard because I don't know if your partner is in therapy, but I think that my instinct is to have a sit down conversation with your partner to be like, and I wouldn't bring up, I've been putting my needs on the back burner because of you, because you did that by your own accord. He didn't ask you to do that. That was something that you chose to do. And it's helpful for us to know, but it's not, that was a choice that you made, and telling that to him can kind of push blame, which I don't think you feel at all. But I would say I want to have a sit down conversation with you and just say, I want to know where you are at, comfortability and boundary wise of me talking to you about my relationship with my sister and cutting her off and the holidays. And I also wanted to let you know ahead of time that this date that is coming up is a hard one for me personally. It involves grieving and death. And I just want to gauge where you are personally at. You are obviously my partner and I want you to be included in my life, and I don't want to withhold these things from you. I know you experienced a massive loss this year, and by no means do I want to potentially trigger you. So I want to let you know that this is what I'm going through, and I'm going to be seeking to have those conversations with friends. But I don't want you to feel like I'm withholding or hiding anything from you, just because I think proposing to him, I want to talk about X, Y, and Z things. I think if you give an alternative of, I want to be able to talk about those things with you and I don't want to hold anything from you, but I understand if your plate is full, and I don't want it to be well, if you don't talk to me about it, then I'm not going to talk to anyone about it. That he might then end up taking on more than he can handle. So I think reaching out to a friend to talk about that, but while still giving him the opportunity to kind of discuss that with you and keeping him clued in so you don't feel like you are hiding things from him or not giving him the opportunity, because people grieve very differently. And some people, nobody ever really wants to be treated really fragile or coddled at all. But I think the best thing that we can always do is give someone the opportunity to engage in a conversation or to talk about something and then let them tell you what their boundaries are. So we don't anticipate other people's boundaries. But I guess that's kind of where my mind automatically goes. But it kind of sounds like, and you tell me what you think, but like, it kind of sounds like to me that caller, you wanting to potentially reconciling with your sister is you're anticipating that is what your partner wants for you. Did you feel like that? Or that he would say something like, it feels insensitive to not have a relationship with a sibling when he's lost something?
I feel like it's more like the caller sees it from his perspective, that she said it quickly, but she said that he was supportive of her because when she first said that she was going to cut off ties with her sister because he was going through something similar. So I think it's because his sister passed away that she feels like she shouldn't waste the time. Like it's insensitive for her not to even like try to reach out to her sister, especially since her sister does want to have a relationship with her.
Yeah. What do you think?
First, I think like you can't give from an empty well or empty tank. And right now it's like you're being supportive of him and you're being sensitive to his emotions, but he isn't giving you any mental support or emotional support. And I'm wondering if it's because you think he can't handle it or because he said that he can't. And I think it's because you are kind of shielding him from it. So I think you guys need to have, like you said, like have a sit down conversation and discuss, hey, like this is what I'm going through right now. Let me know if it's too much for you. I can talk to friends and my therapist. I just need to know, because right now you're doing a lot of assuming instead of asking him.
Yeah, I agree with all that.
Yeah. And then I just want to go back to the stuff with your sister about how like your sister does want to have a relationship with you, but she is still making everything about her. And again, have you told her that she's making things about her? Have you pointed it out and then she's still not changing?
My biggest advice when it comes to the sister is if you are willing to try having a relationship with her, that's like totally up to you. I think if you decide to do that, it should not be over the holidays and it shouldn't be at your parents' house, because from what you've shared, it sounds like you have a lot of trauma regarding your sister, but also that your mom was all about her and your childhood was primarily focused on her from like the parental aspect too. That I think that going into it in a holiday situation, your boyfriend is coming with you and that like can be a lot. And also you're going back, even if it's not the same home that you grew up in, you are kind of going back to potentially like a traumatic experience, same situation, same dynamic and relationships and all of that. And when it's something that is triggering like that, it's really, really hard to not fall back into those roles that we automatically had back then and to go at it in a new way. Because of that, the holidays can be traumatizing to like a lot of people, even if those relationships that they have with those people are like successful and fine any other time during the year. Like kind of keeping that might be helpful. But at the same time, if you have cut your sister out, I don't know if you mentioned how long it's been, but like if this is the first holiday, I don't know that like, do your parents pick which kid like comes, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I don't know how the holidays are going to work in that sense where your mom is checking with you if it's okay if your sister comes, but is your mom then having to pick between like her two kids in that sense? And I think that like if I were wanting to work on a relationship, I would have a conversation with her ahead of time before Christmas and do all that. And if that's not something that you want to do, I wouldn't anticipate that you're going to want to do that then. Like, I don't think you should be making the decisions of like, well, I don't want to talk to her now, but like, I'll talk to her at Christmas. Like, I just think it's putting a lot of pressure on a situation that if you're like staying there and like, it just can be a lot, especially regardless if your partner has recently gone through a significant loss. Inviting someone into like potential chaos can be a lot. But at the end of the day, if someone else's like mental health struggles and all of that kind of stuff, regardless of the reason, if they're being like verbally, mentally, or like physically abusive towards you, the reason can explain, but it doesn't justify or make your feelings invalid. Like, just because how she treated you and how she is a result of like her mental health doesn't mean that like you have to take it in stride. So if it's hard for you and it is traumatizing and hurtful to you, you can have like very clear boundaries, be like, this is not something I'm comfortable with and comfortable doing. And that might change later down the road. But I don't feel like you need to mend this relationship immediately if that's not something that's feasible to you.
Yeah, I think you're right. If you want to mend things, you've got to do it before the holidays, and also be cognizant of how your strained relationship could also strain your mom's relationship with your sister. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, wishing you the best of luck. I hope that was gentle. I feel like we were gentle.
That was very gentle.
Okay. Should we get on to the next?
Sure.
Hello, Megan and Melissa. I fucking love you guys. So here's the deal. Okay. I'm 27. I'm bi. My pronouns are she, her. I recently got back into therapy and I'm working really hard on my fearful avoidant attachment style and difficulty letting myself be vulnerable and intimate. For context, I was deep in the fundamentalist evangelical world until I was 24 years old. I feel like a cult survivor, but that's tea for another day. I was in an abusive relationship from age 15 to 21 with the same man. I'm an FA survivor. I didn't start exploring my queerness at all until I was 23 after moving to New York City. The good news is I've done a lot of healing work these past few years and have never felt more proud of who I am. And I love myself more and take care of myself better every day. The bad news is I have an incredibly difficult time letting myself be free physically without being like fucking cross-faded or something. I'm bubbly and confident and outgoing at my most natural, but I free super easy these days, unfortunately. I'm working on this actively in therapy and I'm excited about that. But a final barrier I run into on my most confident days is that I have dermatillomania. My legs have always had scars as a result, but this summer I also had a change of my medication that resulted in loads of severe skin picking episodes on my arms. I'm fair, so they scar purple, and it just really hurts my confidence. I barely socialized or left my house this summer, and between that and the pandemic, a girl is rusty. But my meds are better, I'm in therapy again, I'm better, and I have a crush. And I think he might be into it. I really want this to be an opportunity for me to put what I'm working on to the test. Be free, have fun, live like I'm allowed to take up space, and like I'm allowed to have my body feel good and make my body feel good and all that good stuff, right? However, I'm terrified of him seeing my wounds or my scars, and I have no idea how to respond if he asks about them, especially, like if they're fresh. I don't want to overshare or accidentally overjump either, which I can do when I'm put on the spot. So the TLDR of it all is I would love to hear any advice you have on how to communicate about the scars if asked, how to get over the shame with the scars, and would also love any advice about letting yourself release overall, like generally. And before I go, Megan, I have to thank you for your transparency about your own struggles with skin picking. You'll just never know how much it means. So thank you. All right. Love you guys. Bye.
You sound great. I want to be your friend. I like this energy and this vibe. Surprise, surprise to nobody. The skin picking part, if anyone has followed for a while, I'm sure they do. Yes, very relatable to me. The thing I will say about it is like it obviously differs from person to person. Me personally, I would so much rather tell someone ahead of time versus being in a situation where I have like just picked, I completely hate myself, like I am so fragile, and then have somebody ask. And kind of the same way about skin picking, like scars and like the look of it or anything. There are definitely like in some circumstances with people that I'm like, nobody's going to ask about this with the group of people that I'm with. And if they do, I really won't care. And I shouldn't care. We shouldn't care if anyone asks. But there are, at least for me, people who, if they said something, I would feel far more embarrassed. And also, I can't control when someone asks or when someone notices or when someone says something. And there is a high likelihood that they say something when I'm like, again, like fresh picking or really vulnerable about it. And so I can't control that conversation in that situation if I wait for it to happen. So for me, the way I would probably bring it up is ahead of time and just being like, oh, and if you notice anything like on my legs or whatever, like I've got dermatillomania, I would either like make a joke about it if it came up, or I would just be like, hey, I just want to like give a little precursor. I've been wearing long sleeves a ton or like long pants, and I really want to wear this cute skirt. I have dermatillomania. I've got these like spots on my legs or my arms, and it's not a fun thing to like talk about or to really like see. And it's something, but I just want to give you like a heads up. And I find that people are very, especially someone who likes you, I think like it would be wonderful if someone could then like him do his own research and like look about it and like see all of that kind of stuff. But I think that you want to communicate, but you don't want to overshare. I think that sharing something like this, I don't think is an oversharing situation at all, especially because the shame thing that comes with dermatillomania, that I think anything that you can do to kind of let someone else in your life know that, because you already beat yourself up enough about this, having someone else question it in those vulnerable states can just be really, really hard. And I don't think there's anything innate about oversharing that. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think that like one of the things that I'm like decent, like because I don't have my glasses on all of the time and I can't see everything and I'm pretty forgetful, I will eventually forget that like I'm showing my legs or something like that. But there are times like where I just won't. But I am far more comfortable having like people see like the marks and the scars and all of that if it's people who know. And there is this, I don't want to call it paranoia, but even like think of it like if when you have like a zit or anything like that, that you think that like everybody's looking, everybody can see this or whatever it is, that is there when like you've picked your skin, but it's also, you feel blame and like shame in all of that. And so I think that when all of my friends know and it's not like a weird kind of thing, but I would also say if you want to be more passive about it, post about it on your like Instagram story and like he can kind of see it or whatever. But I also think anyone who comments on your body, especially if you're like getting intimate, regardless of like what it is, to me, I really don't like that. Like I had a guy that I like used to sleep with who like the first time we like slept together pointed out like a couple of like not self-harm scars, just like random scars on my body and like immediately asked me if this was like a self-harm scar. And I was like, no, but if it was, whoa, like yeah. I'm naked right now. Like there's like a funny story that goes along with this, but like that is like you're in a vulnerable kind of state. And to then just kind of like ask questions about that.
Yeah. Yeah. During my senior year of college, I went through the same thing. My skin's darker, so you couldn't tell that much. But to me, you could tell, like I could see it. And I knew it wasn't how my legs usually looked. And so I would just, like, if I wanted to wear shorts or it was just hot, I would just like make a joke about it around people. And then they would say, like, I didn't even notice it. Like you were saying, like with zits and stuff, like you're more cognizant about it than other people. And they usually don't notice it unless you call attention to it.
Yeah. And also in general, unless, because like sometimes with my legs and that stuff, like sometimes it can look like an allergic reaction. It can look like hives.
Or it also like looks like just like irritation from shaving.
Yeah.
Which it could be.
It could be. Yeah. And like that's also part of what I pick is like shaving irritation, and I'll pick anything. But in general, like I just think like unless somebody's face is swelling up in front of your face and it looks like their throat is closing up or they're having like a visible allergic reaction, don't comment on that. If someone's like the back of their neck is something's bleeding that they can't see, like that they're not seeing, but like the in general commentary on people's bodies as like oh, I'm concerned kind of a thing is like, we know we know I know what's happening on my body better than you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, unless my nose has started bleeding and I can't see it, like, and I can't feel it and I haven't noticed, like, yes, let me know. But there is just like no need to comment on that kind of stuff. But I will also say, like, you're 27. I don't know how old the person that you are seeing is, but I definitely like have been met with far less like questions and comments about like anything physical like that as when I got older and was surrounding myself with people who were my age and all of that kind of stuff. Like some people, we get to cross a road in our lives when we get older that we start minding our business or we stop minding our business even more. It's intentionally spending time with the people who like Mats doesn't comment on it at all. And like, we've had conversations where I'm like, this is helpful for me in the moment. This is not helpful for me in the moment. Like, this is what you can do. This is what not to do. And I think anyone that you're like sleeping with or being intimate with or anything, the best thing that you can do is to arm them with the tools that you need so they don't accidentally hurt you. And that's not their intention and their goal at all. And we can kind of go out of our way to prevent that and like let people know that what we're looking for and what we need. And I don't know anybody who's been like, wow, that's so like, I mean, except for people on Instagram, but like nobody in my personal life has ever tried to pry or ask, even my therapist. So like, it's very much like whatever you want to share, like share, you know, but I understand it's rough.
Big ups on like going out and dating.
Yeah. You already sound like the person that you're describing you want to be. You already really sound like that person. So give yourself that credit in that sense. And I think we become who we really want to be. And you're taking those actions to become that person. And I think you're there.
I agree.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. We are back from the break, so let's get into the rest of the calls.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I'm calling about a very recent breakup that I am going through. I am 26, pronouns she, her. My ex is also 26, pronouns he, him. We've been together for 3 years and living together for about 2.5. There have been no like recent issues in our relationship. Like, we've talked pretty regularly about how great everything was going between us and how we're just so happy that like we have this apartment that we love and our cats love each other and we love each other. Then come to find out Saturday morning, this past Saturday, he came to me and said that he wanted to talk and immediately started crying. And he told me like, he asked if he could hug me first because he loved me so much and he needed me to hold him while he did what he was about to do. So he told me that he thought we needed to break up. And I asked him why, because it caught me by complete surprise. There were no signs of this coming. And his answer was that when he's with me, he feels perfect and happy. And when he's alone, he feels like he doesn't know who he is and he needs to be alone. And so that's why he broke up with me. He is starting therapy. I also started therapy because it's like such a drastic change like that. It completely blindsided me with our lives so intertwined, living together and everything. I guess I just really need some guidance on how to move on without having clarity and not knowing when.
As a podcast network, our first priority has always been audio and the stories we're able to share with you. But at Realm, we also sell some pretty cool merch, and organizing that was made both possible and easy with Shopify. When you think about successful businesses like Aloe or Allbirds or Skims, an often overlooked secret is the business behind the business that makes selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. That's because nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret that's definitely worth talking about is that Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%. That's more happy customers and way more sales going. If you're hoping to grow your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
Or if I will get any, he told me that once he has answers as to why this had to happen this way, and why he couldn't bring himself to talk to me beforehand, he would tell me, but I don't at this point know when that will be. So I'm just really hurting and I need some advice. Thank you.
Oof, this is rough. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think this is kind of like the classic, it's not you, it's me. And we don't know, and I don't think you know how long he's been feeling this way. But it maybe seems like that, like he said, like when he's with you, he gets lost in who you guys are together, but doesn't know who he is outside of the relationship. And so he is taking time to figure that out without you. And it hurts. I know it hurts you and it hurts him too, but like this is about him and not necessarily about you.
Yeah, no, I agree. So you guys moved in together 6 months into dating.
Mm-hmm.
And the last almost 2 years have been a pandemic where we've all been stuck inside. And to me, what this seems like is someone who recognizes that they are displaying like not even necessarily codependent tendencies. Like there were two, like recognizing that like you in this relationship kind of became like his everything and his identity. And I think that has happened to a lot of couples during this time. And as people have been able to kind of venture out and do things safely and all of that, like recognizing that, oh, wow, I don't know like who I am anymore. And some people never go through that process of like questioning and like identity crisis. And it can be hard if you've never been through that to understand why someone would need to end a perfectly happy relationship to get to know themselves. But when I like went through like what am I doing with my life? Like a complete like identity crisis and reevaluating like just everything and trying to understand myself so I could make better decisions for myself more. Like I even pulled away and wasn't the most communicative like friend at all times. Like in order to really figure that stuff out, like you do kind of need to be selfish. And I think you're right. I don't think that he even necessarily knows if there was like, if it's a slow burn, like it's different for every single person, whether it like, I don't know, it happens little by little, like sand in an hourglass, or if it happens like you're hit by a freight train one day. And I'm the latter. Like I am someone who I realize something like all at once, anvil dropped on my head style. And some people are just like that. And what I would tell you is that just because this is where this relationship has ended up doesn't mean that it was a waste of time. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a great relationship and it didn't like serve a purpose and like serve you really well. It just got to a crossroads, and the only way like through that and the way that he chose, he was able to choose something that was going to be the healthiest thing for him, and in turn is actually the healthiest thing for you.
Mm-hmm.
I think it can be really hard to be like, well, I wish this, this, and this. He does too. Like he wishes I think something's so incredibly strong when someone recognizes like, I'm not doing well. That's not just hurting me. That's going to hurt this person. And this person deserves so much more. I'm not comfortable giving 20%, or I'm also not comfortable with them sacrificing their happiness for me because that won't make me happy because I really care about this person. So I think therapy is like great for both of you, but it's such a fresh wound. And this was like the time that you called in, it was the way you made it sound was that was like literally like the past week or weekend that it happened.
Like it just happened. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, I understand wanting to kind of get some clarity, but maybe your therapist will say something similar or completely different. But to me, it sounds like you want to know what went wrong and what did you do? And like, how could this have been like prevented? And that is something that is, you did nothing wrong. He did nothing wrong. Nothing went wrong. This was the course of the relationship and there was no avoiding it. And any avoiding it would have ended up in the same outcome and probably in a much worse state. Much worse. Like it would have been 6 months of like screaming and all of this stuff like blowing up ahead of time. And it's hard and it really sucks when you feel like the rug has been pulled out from underneath you. There's no signs that you missed. There is no like analyzing, like breaking down like the course of this. Like sometimes relationship, they just happen and it's nobody's fault. And I think if you can do your best to see how great of a relationship this was at the time. And I always tried to do is like, if this relationship could be this good and this wasn't like it for me, think of how like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have such a great relationship when it's like the one who I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. If I could have this amazing of a relationship and be so in love, this isn't even all there is. This wasn't even ultimately my person. Like, great. Like the opportunity to know that you can fall in love that much and know that you can feel that way about someone. It takes a while to get there, but using that as like an exciting thing that like I felt this way once, that means I can feel this way again.
Yeah. And so I'd say use this opportunity, since you said that you're in therapy as well, use this opportunity to explore who you are as well without a relationship and being honest with yourself. Like, did you also feel like you didn't know who you were outside of the relationship? Yeah, it hurts, but it's going to take time. This isn't something that's going to be just like overnight aha moment for you or for him. And I think the clarity, like we've said before, the clarity you're looking for is closure. So just allow yourself time to hear yourself, and when he's ready, hear him, and allow yourself to heal as well. And it's going to be a while.
Mm-hmm. I'll also say too, if it comes down to it, if you don't want to hear him, that's also okay. Yeah. Like you don't have to closure, clarity, quote unquote. That is all such a personal thing that he's actually truly not really involved in. And if he is heavily involved in.
With something like 5 million podcasts, finding a really good one can take a ton of time. So let me recommend one. It's called Something You Should Know. I'm the host, Mike Carruthers, and in each episode, we discuss topics that can be really helpful, like how to read people better, the psychology of crowds, or fun things like the story of Legos, or why you probably wouldn't be here if it weren't for horses. Something You Should Know is the name of it, wherever you get your podcasts.
In it, then I don't think you've reached that point of what we call closure is, you know? Yeah. Well, I'm so sorry. That's so hard. But yeah, I think like what you said, work on finding yourself too. Yeah. Should we go on to the next?
Let's do it.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I am 20 and my boyfriend is 23. I go by she, her pronouns, and he goes by he, him pronouns. A little backstory. My boyfriend and I have been dating for almost 3 years and have lived together for almost all of our relations. We've been dating for about 4 months when, due to urgent living situations, he had asked me to move in with him. I kind of said, fuck it. If it works out, it works out. And I moved in with him at 18. Since then, we have moved to multiple different parts of our state due to work and school, and we're stronger than ever. We even have a dog. Now, here's the issue. We have never had any problems in bed up to about a month ago. We have had sex regularly, and he eats me out every time, which I love. Up to about a month ago, I used to finish every time we had sex, and he ate me out every time, except now I just can't seem to finish at all. I still want to have sex, and my goal isn't always to finish. However, I get frustrated when I can't seem to anymore. I would also like to side note, my boyfriend loves to eat me out, and he's really good at it. I haven't talked to him about my frustration because I don't really want to make him feel bad. He's always open to trying new things with me and always wants me to finish first, although that doesn't always go as planned. I would also like to talk to him about doing more new things in bed that we haven't done before. I love him so much, and I love having sex with him and pleasuring him. He finishes every time, of course. However, I need advice on what I or my boyfriend and I can do together to help me finish as well. I feel like I might focus too hard on the end result, that I can't seem to focus like in the moment, and I get kind of anxiety and like overwhelmed. And I think I kind of like don't focus on what's going on. Although I recognize this, I can't seem to change it. Please help. Thank you. I love you guys. I love the podcast. Have a good day. Bye.
Back-to-back calls of people living with their partners like months in.
Yeah, but hers seems like it's going well for the most part.
It's also pretty unrelated.
Yeah.
We do love a man who like loves to go down and is great at it. Or we love anybody, but you know, especially like cis, like heterosexual men, like no DJ Khaled's up in here. Anytime I think about it, it makes me so mad. But so happy that he's good at it. He likes doing that. Great. I think that like if you automatically are kind of being like, I want to try some new stuff, I think that there's something that you're thinking of and you're not saying it.
Yep. There's stuff that you're holding back from. You're used to what he's doing. He might be in the rhythm of doing the same things over and over again, and you want something different.
Yeah. Like you just suggesting like there's something that you're not telling us. You have an example in your head. And yes, go for it. Great. I think specifically if it feels like something that you're like, oh my God, this is like way too crazy, or like this feels like a lot, there are two ways I think that you can either bringing it up like dirty talk, because like half the stuff you say in dirty talk, you're like, well, we're not gonna actually do that. Like we're just like, you know, getting creative here. And to kind of like saying something like that in like a more hypothetical sense, or if it feels way too uncomfortable to like bring something up while you're having sex and that's like not the way you want to do it, then being like, hey, was just thinking, like, is there anything that new that you would want to try? I saw this thing. And then you can like say, like, I saw this thing that seemed kind of interesting. What are your thoughts on it? But I think you're right in the sense that like you're getting in your head, and it is like you said, like he's been doing the same thing and it's worked and it's not working. And so I think you're like, well, I'm broken. Like, what am I doing? This has worked all of the other times before. If you've seen something or heard of something or just had the idea in your head of something that you think is like kind of sexy and hot, that's there in your brain. And regardless of like how much you're consciously thinking about that kind of thing, like you are thinking about other things that aren't the exact sex moment that you are having. I think that like that the best thing you do is like bring that up.
Yeah. And also your body can get used to something. If he knows like he's done this so many times, he knows how you always come this way. He's probably not switching up what he's doing because he's like, this is what gets her off. I know how to make her come. So your body also gets used to that if he's not switching it up, and then it remembers things so it doesn't react in the same way as if something new was tried. Like even like with sex toys, something can get me off real fast, you know, like every time. And then it'll get to a point where, no, I have to switch this up. It's not the same. It's not getting me the same way that it is. But also, in that being said, since he usually always gets you off and he knows that he does, are you faking now?
I feel like no.
But if he doesn't know that he's not getting her off and he's used to always getting her off, if he doesn't know, then why isn't he? If he knows that she's not getting off, why isn't he changing it?
Yeah, that is true. I see that. I really hope you're not faking it.
Because she said she hasn't told him.
Oh, I interpreted that like she hasn't told him that she's like frustrated, like that. Because I think sometimes what happens, like if you're like, oh, it's just like not happening for me tonight or whatever. Like,
but if it's been happening for a month,
Yeah. Sometimes sex in a relationship can kind of get like masturbating, where you're like means to, I'm just like doing this to do it. Like when you're masturbating, like I'll fucking like use a toy. I have like a face mask on. Like it's not sexy or anything like that. And sometimes when you're in a long-term relationship, you can kind of get used to that. And so even just like switching up the like, oh, I want to put on like really sexy lingerie. I want to send like a dirty pic during the day, or like send like a racy text. I want to like have, if you normally have sex with like some lights on, have the lights off. If you normally have sex with lights off, like light a candle, like,
or like go to a different room, or try a different, if you're usually like lying on your back, sit on his face, like gotta spice it up. And it seems like you want to, maybe you're just having trouble vocalizing that you want to try something new.
Yeah. I mean, again, like the actual act of like, I find that like the best sex I'll have, it's the lead up to it. And like, yeah, sure, you could just go down on me immediately and like eventually I will get there. But like if I'm already like feeling sex and having all of this kind of lead up to that like the payoff, the reward is like so much greater there. And it doesn't even have to be like crazy, like kinky stuff or whatever. Like it can literally just be like putting on music, like wearing something really sexy and just like making out on the couch for like an hour, anything like that. And so it feels a little bit less routine and feels a little bit more kind of like, I mean, even Sydney and I were talking about it, how we're both in like long-term relationships, and we were both saying, I was like, oh my God, like we started like making out again. She goes, oh my God, like me and my fiance, she's like, it was the greatest thing ever. I felt like I was a teenager again. Like this was like so hot. We're just like making out. Like you don't do that. Like we don't do that as much anymore. It's a very easy thing to kind of like change and bring up, but he just wants you to get off. And like, there is no judgment in these kinds of things. And like, you have a healthy relationship. So if there's something that you bring up that you want to do that he doesn't want to, like, as long as he knows he can say no.
And if there's something that you want to do or he wants to do and you don't want to do, you can say no too. But he can't read your mind. So if you're not communicating with him in all parts of your relationship, then it can leave you frustrated.
Yeah. I think the solution is the lead up, and I don't think there's no tips and tricks for like the actual moment of, because I think me telling you to like, oh, put music on so you get out of your head. I think there's some other stuff there that you like want to try and do and all of that kind of stuff. And 3 years into a relationship, yeah, that checks out. I foresee some sexy sex in your future, some good wet sex.
Good wet sex.
Well, is it time for Don't Blame Them?
It is.
So Don't Blame Them is where a listener will call in with their own advice pertaining to a call from a previous episode. So maybe they have personal experience. Maybe they missed something that we didn't say. They heard something, saw something, felt something, or they just want to tell us how they feel about it.
Here we go.
Hi, Megan and Melissa. I'm calling for a Don't Blame Them for Season 8, Episode 20, regarding a football player who doesn't wear his mask. I use she, her pronouns, and I have also been in a similar situation. But instead of a football player, it was actually a pretty famous YouTuber who went to my school. She wasn't racist or anything to my knowledge, but she did violate our campus, pretty much our county stay-at-home order, by flying to Alabama to visit her sister during the height of COVID. Probably like this was last year. And I did have an in with the dean of students because I was a part of student government and I was on the dean's board to help make decisions and whatnot. So I did inform them person to person. And the dean told me that they actually had a COVID resource page where you can kind of like tattle on people and give all identifiable information. So I'll definitely look to see if your institution has something similar. But I actually do disagree with Megan and Melissa, and I think you should be using your personal school email, just on the basis that if you do email your dean, the football coach, the school newspaper, there's a high likelihood that that could be filtered through their junk or spam mail. And obviously, we don't want that to happen. I will say to prepare for them to do absolutely nothing. When I reported that one YouTuber, I don't think anything came out of it. And I also had a connection to an upper administration. So them doing something, the school newspaper, the dean, all of that stuff is based on the presumption that they also care about COVID just as much as you. And I 1,000% hope they do, because COVID, you know, is a virus that is like freaking killing people. But I would just prepare for nothing to happen. And if nothing does happen, keep a paper trail with your school email and then bring it to your student government and say, I've had student concerns about COVID on campus and administration isn't listening to me. Then the student government can take care of it. And then if they don't take care of it, feel free to reach out to your local news station because they are probably more than willing to look into see if they have a story to write about the local university not caring about COVID and putting people in danger and if the coach is protecting them. Okay, thanks. Bye.
Great advice.
Wonderful advice. I wholly agree with this person, and I would love to know which YouTuber this is.
Slide into Megan's DMs.
Please.
Or in the Don't Blame Me, because I think you'll see it in the Don't Blame Me DMs before your
I probably will. Well, that is it for our episode. Hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for listening and or watching. If you are listening and you're like watching, I didn't know that was an option. We are on Patreon. Check us out. We have the video versions there for $1 a month. And then we have live stream literal Zoom hangouts where we just hang out twice a month. And they're really, really fun. And they're only $5 a month. So if you want to have some, it's a great way to like step your foot back into like the socialization of the world. And it's a great time. We have fun. We have 10 out of 10. I give it those reviews. If you want to call in for an upcoming episode, again, the phone number is 310-694-0976. International listeners, you can send us an audio message at meghanpodcast@gmail.com. All the things that we said at the beginning for the requirements for the calls still apply. You can follow us on socials everywhere. And if you are listening to this far into the episode, go on the most recent Instagram post and comment. Just comment what state you live in. Because, Alabama, lots of other ones. Comment what state you live in.
That's a good one.
Or what state you're from. If you don't want people to, I don't know, pick one of them.
Just a state.
Comment your favorite state.
Because, we've got a lot of international callers, too. So they don't live in the United States. So
that is true. So I take it back. Comment your favorite state in the United States. It doesn't have to be anyone you have any ties to, anything.
Just
it can
a
be.
State.
And especially for people who do not live in America, I would love to know what you're You don't have to offer any explanation. You can. Honestly, if it's Florida, and you're joking, go for it. I'm very curious. And then we can see which state got no votes. Sad.
I don't know why that made me laugh so much.
I love pitting things against each other. So all of our links and socials will be listed down below. My book's available. Get my presets. Follow me places. And I
want to read a review.
Oh, okay.
This is Rachel. That is their username as well as the title of the review. Hey guys, this is Rachel. I didn't mean to leave any of those negative comments. Just having a hard time. Love the podcast. Eminem are an amazing duo with sparkling perspectives. Everyone get vaccinated. Heart emoji.
That is so funny. Oh my God. I'm obsessed.
Thank you so much, Rachel.
We love you all and appreciate you so much. And I'm so glad. Again, I want to give another shout out to the Rachels who listen to the podcast, who are not this Rachel, not the original Rachel.
Yes.
And I just want to say that y'all are taking this in stride. You have assumed you're new. You've accepted that Karen's had their moment and now it's Rachel's time to shine. And none of you are feeling personally attacked and you're confident, it's not you. And I really appreciate it. So, as always, please go leave some reviews, cancel out Rachel's bi-weekly. And you can also join us in the ongoing.
What's up, everyone? It's Noah Daniels.
Hey, y'all. I'm JJ.
Hey, guys. It's Kat.
And we're your hosts of the Real Hauntings podcast, where we bring on guests who share their first-hand encounter ghost stories and supernatural experiences. Now on to the trailer.
I've been warned to not tell this story, but I think because of the way it ends, it's okay to tell this story, because some people say that with certain entities, to speak of them or talk about them or in any way portray them as powerful will attract them to other people. The creepiest thing about it to me is a lot of times it would wait for me to notice it. It would just lay its arm out like this, and then I'd be like, where is it? Where is it? And then I'd see it, and then it would just slither back.
For more information on the Real Hauntings, Real Ghost Stories podcast, make sure you check out real.fm to learn more about our podcast and many other amazing podcasts.
Inside joke by reading all of the recent reviews, and you will also notice which one of them are from the original Rachel. It's quite clear, quite obvious.
Oof.
Oh, that was funny.
Good job. Bravo. You get a diamond. You get a diamond.
That was like the first comedy diamond that was given out. That was fantastic. Anything you want to promote personally?
Follow me on Instagram, please. I also just made a very weird TikTok if you would like to look at that too.
I need to go look. Okay, we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Don't Blame Me is a production by me. Executive produced by Melissa DeMonts and Diamond Imprint Productions. Edited by Coco Lawrence. Post-production sound by Chris Henry. Production assistance by Melanie D. Watson. Music by Ryan Hunter and Giacomo Picasso.
Do you love Disney? Do you love top 10 lists? Then you are going to love our hit podcast, Disney Countdown. I'm Megan, the Magical Millennial.
And I'm the Dapper Danielle.
On every episode of our fun and family-friendly show, we count down our top 10 lists of all things Disney. The parks, the movies, the music, the food, the lore. There is nothing we don't cover on our show.
We are famous for rabbit holes, Disney-themed games, and fun facts you didn't know you needed.
I had Danielle and Megan record some answers to seemingly meaningless questions. I asked Danielle, what insect song is typically higher pitched in hotter temperatures and lower pitched in cooler temperatures?
You got this.
No, I didn't.
Don't believe that. About a wish coming true? Well, I didn't either. Of course, I'm just a
cicada. I'm crying. I'm so sorry.
You win that one.
So if you're looking for a healthy dose of Disney magic, check out Disney Countdown wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, I'm Jennifer, a founder of the Go Kid Go network. At Go Kid Go, putting kids first is at the heart of every show that we produce. That's why we're so excited to introduce a brand new show to our network called The Search for the Silver Lining, a fantasy adventure series about a spirited young girl named Isla who time travels to the mythical land of Camelot. Look for The Search for the Silver Lining on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcasts.